Hello, I'm Nexus 8846 and welcome to a review of Transformers Kingdom Commander Class Rodimus Prime. Let's talk about the trailer first. The integration is done via one spring-loaded mechanism, but it holds on pretty securely. You can pick it up from the cab or from the trailer and it will stay together, which I suppose is a positive. However, the cab does not rotate independently from the trailer, meaning realistically this shouldn't be able to turn at all. Rodimus here also has an extra axle from what we're used to seeing. And while I don't mind a few design changes, some of which I'll talk about later, this is kind of dumb because the rear wheels of the cab do slide in for the transformation, so I feel like they could have done something for this. I will say though, connecting and disconnecting this thing is something that pleases an autistic part of my brain. But the way the spoiler goes into the trailer is dumb. Part of the pipes on the trailer are spring-loaded, but they don't put it above where the gap would be, even though that's the more logical place to put them. So now there's this giant, ugly gap in them. That breaks the continuity when you're looking at this. There also isn't even a microgram of yellow plastic in this, so the fin is completely painted, and it's translucent blue. Not sure how that's going to hold up over time. However, let's see if this thing's really worth the extra, $80 you gotta put in for it. On the front part of the roof, a hatch can open up, providing a storage area. It's useful for a couple of things, but it can't fit everything extra that this thing comes with. Not even the gun, which has nowhere to go in this vehicle mode, and is the only thing you can't store in it. Akin to MP44, there's a tray that slides out from the bottom of the vehicle mode, which can also store some things in designated places. It looks spacious at first glance, but despite having ports in it, you can't put any of the things that have pegs in the tray and have it be able to fit inside the trailer, which is just a waste of plastic there. Feels like they should have, considered how this would have gone. You can futz around and try and put stuff in there, but anything that sticks out over the top of the container isn't going to fit into the trailer. You can just toss the sword loose in here and it will fit, but again, it's loose and is liable to get scratched when moving the trailer around. Plus, there is already a designated storage place for it underneath the vehicle mode proper. Lastly, the tray has two ports on it, which allow you to plug in some of the included blast effects, giving it a kind of a sense that this thing can move under its own power, which I actually really like. It helps it be a bit more of a separate entity, and a bit more useful to Rodimus himself. The flames, though, are nice, pinstriped out in black, and all that kind of stuff. From a distance, it does look really good. But again, the gap in the pipes and the unpainted wheel wells do irk me. And good God, look at these flame effects for the pipes. Jesus, Hot Rod must have hated the Earth as he's spewing up that much fucking pollution. Good God! And finally, for the last feature of trailer mode, the back door can indeed open up in a two-step pattern, which includes some semi-realistic piston functions, and it's a two-tiered door opening system, which also allows you to connect to the Earthrise and Siege bases. It's a line-wide gimmick, so hey, why not? I actually also feel like this is pretty satisfying to do. I'll find myself just opening and closing the door constantly. And unlike Earthrise Optimus Prime's trailer, you can actually fit deluxe cars in here! Yeah, baby! That's what we've been waiting for! However, the trailer does have a big, massive, widespread issue going on. It may look like I'm able to keep my trailer together here, but that's only because I've thickened up the tabs. Unfortunately, it only looks that good when I don't have the big gun in there, because when I do, it looks like this. So yeah, that opening shot was a bit of a lie, because until the trailer opened, the big gun was not in there. What I did to semi-fix this was kind of just paint where all the tabs are, and it does the trick fairly well. Even still, I don't recommend having the AA gun in there if you're wanting the trailer to look neat while closed. Opening up, though, and the floor does have some pretty nice details that you can then immediately cover up by slapping the gun in there. Note the configuration of my gun, because this is the most compact you can get it. And even with my modifications, this is as close as I can get the trailer to be. It needed a little more refinement here, especially for this price. It's, again, something that can be mitigated if you just leave the gun out, but come on, it's designed to be in there! So, battle platform mode. First off, the gun is just on a peg which can be folded up, so you don't need to put it in there to even have Rodimus be able to use it. It also has well-detailed molded treads on it, which again gives the impression that it can go off on its own to assist Rodimus in battle, which feels very useful. It's like if Optimus's anti-air gun and roller fused into one being. So, yeah, so far this trailer and the stuff in it is shaping up way better than Earthrise Optimus. Weirdly, there is a ton of ports in here, and you don't have anything to put in here. First off, when you have the anti-aircraft gun in the trailer, you can't close it up, even with just that. And pegging anything onto the sides means it's impossible to do. So this is only really usable, I guess, in robot mode, like Optimus's weapon rack from Dark of the Moon, but even then, the Studio Series figure of that could have all the weapons stored inside of it. It all feels worthless and a waste of plastic here. Come on. Oh, and also now this bigger door on that storage compartment opens for some reason. Okay. And there's also ports in the doors, which are also too crowded to put anything in there. Why? Okay, so this trailer has some baffling design choices, but it does everything it, on paper, needs to do, so I can't say that this is a ripoff. When you have it in trailer mode, you're likely going to want to roll up a car in there, so keeping the gun out is probably something you're going to do anyways. So, I can't exactly be mad at it, but I do think a lot more refinement could have gone into this for the price. First Nemesis, now this. God, I hope figures with trailers stop coming out so I can just review the goddamn figure. Oh, look. It's the Hot Rod vehicle mode. Feet are mega blatantly sticking out of the back. There's also detail on them which is covered up in robot mode, so they could have detailed this to look like car parts. Like, maybe slap a taillight on there, or some rear bumper detailing. Hell, a fucking license plate. That would have been nifty. But no. I've heard people complain about Studio Series Hot Rod having the knees sticking out, but really? This is worse. This is so much worse looking. I guess it's covered up by the trailer so nobody gives a shit, but... Oh, and word of warning, the front wheels also slide up for the transformation. So if you want to roll this thing, you can't. No. The second you touch it, they sink back up and rub against where the shoulder is. So these wheels do not turn. Considering the effect this very minute change has in robot mode, this is not worth it. I will say, though, that this does actually give off a pretty hefty truck vibe. Like, if you had a truck with the back part on it, on the bed. Plus, there is this upward sloping angle to it, which is more reminiscent of how the G1 had a more steep angle to its nose. The front headlights are really close together in vehicle mode for the sake of not having to have the chest be a fake part in robot mode. And it does look a bit awkward, and it would have been helped if the two parts at the side also had headlights on them. But that's just me talking. You can also use the air quotes fire effects in vehicle mode, and they do work a bit better because they do allow you to do some animation with them, but they still look terrible. These are also molded in the same translucent plastic that the windshield and spoiler is, but it's painted black, and why couldn't you just leave it blue? Vehicle comparisons. Studio Series Hot Rod. Studio Series Hot Rod. Earthrise Datsun. Cup. And finally, the size comparison you don't give a shit about. Generation 2 Megatron. Nexus! It's smaller than a Voyager, but they charge Commander price for it! This is such a rip-off! There's nothing to justify this! Oh, and here's how big it is with everything else that's included. Transformation is complex. More complex than I think it needs to be, especially with the shoulder wheels. But more complex than I think could happen as a Voyager, so some credit to its price point. Yeah, this robot mode looks good. Alright, I can't deny it. Very punchy color scheme, nice proportions. It's perfect, I have to say it. Like, oh my God, this thing just screams Rodimus. There's never been a figure as close as this, not even the fucking MP. The only exception being the shoulder wheels. In the animation, Rodimus Prime's shoulder wheels were facing forwards, though in Hot Rod form his wheels were facing backwards. Here, they have them in the Hot Rod configuration, and they're facing backwards, but they've sunk them in to the arms, in a kind of clever mechanism that doesn't work because it ruins the vehicle mode. And the difference in look between them is so goddamn negligible. They just flat out shouldn't have done this, or, I don't know, found a way to keep the wheels locked down so the frickin' car could roll. Just no. His backpack also brings all the boys to the yard. And I'm like, damn nah, cause Hot Rod did it better than ya. No, that joke was terrible, fuck. Hot Rod was flatter and had the backpack stop just above the waist, so that it didn't hinder the articulation or silhouette. Rodimus, though, has his hanging all the way down to his thighs, and is considerably farther away from the shoulders. There are also these vestigial flaps coming out of his sides, though you can just fold those up pretty easily. Also, thanks to the hands being very articulated, they're gigantic! Hey, you know if your hand's bigger than your face, it's a sign you have cancer? Good God, imagine the tumors in him! And yeah, the top of the chest is a fake part. And with the panel, it's also kind of noticeable. I'm also pretty iffy on this. I don't mind it terribly much, I guess. And Jesus, look at those calves. My God, those go out for miles. I've heard people complain about hot rods, but there is some actual curve and flow to it that kind of links it in. Here, it's just a straight cut down and then out. There's no consistency with it, except for how the panel covers up the kibble. But hey, let's take this $40 Voyager up a notch by giving it a $30 Matrix chamber. After all, that's what makes fucking Earthrise Optimus Prime a fucking leader, huh? The Matrix chamber? Yeah, it's the Matrix chamber. Kind of just two pegs and you stick the Matrix in there. Okay. Matrix can come out. This Matrix is weird, though. It is not the same mold that comes with Earthrise Optimus, Studio Series Hot Rod, and Kingdom Galvatron. It's actually a new mold. Slightly bigger so that it can't fit on any other thing. And the hole in the back is also a different size. It's also still pathetically tiny, like pretty much every single figure of Optimus Prime or Rodimus that has a Matrix Chamber gimmick. Fucking forgo the Matrix Chamber. You can have it open, you can have Matrix detail in there, but give the figure a full-size Matrix that they can hold in their freaking hands, for God's sake. The only time this Matrix has scaled with something is the Studio Series Hot Rod. And not really, honestly. Just, come on, his fingers are supposed to fit in the holes of the handles. And just one of his fingers is thicker than the handles. But hey, you also get a effect with it to recreate the scene where Hot Rod becomes Rodimus. And this is just dinky. I don't know, it's just kind of pathetic. Not insulting, I guess, but I still expected better. His hands can fit the handles on the aircraft gun, and it can use blast effects. So I can't help but have a feeling that this is going to be how most people display it. Pew pew, you know what I mean? You could bring the flame things back, and they look more like wrist-mounted swords than they do flames. Why did you waste the money on paint on these? Hot Rod came with blue flames. These are molded in blue plastic. Just don't fucking paint them. The hands are actually really a highlight on them. With a knuckle joint and an individual trigger finger, these do feel actually pretty premium because most MPs don't have this level of hand articulation. So Earthrise Optimus can take his single curved fingers look with only the single hinge and shove it up his ass. The big gun has a peg and a tab that allows you to connect it to a port and a thing on his back. So plug it in, maybe have him lean forward like a smooth criminal because it's heavy, and pew pew, you know what I mean? There's also ports on his backpack that allow you to plug his other two weapons in. Totally not the Star Saber. And his folded up gun, and he's ready to go backtracking through the streets of Cybertron, I don't know. He can hold the gun, but the peg only goes halfway into his palm, and that feels awkward. Can they not do longer pegs or something? Come on. He can also hold the second handle with the other hand, which I guess is a testament to this figure's articulation. But with the hand articulation, you can get him more naturally holding the barrel of the rifle anyways. And it also has a blast effect peg. The sword clips into his hand. His wrists have an extra point of articulation that allow him to angle the sword forward. And this is the weapon that works best with him. Holy friggin' god, he looks so good with this. Why couldn't they do this with the gun? Come on! This is a weapon he, like, fucking never even had. Oh, there was this one comic. Who cares? Most of the Transformers community hasn't seen the comics except for IDW. So, this doesn't matter. Yet, I'm really happy that it works this well. So, I'm 50-50 on this. Hell, you can also use some blast effects to give him a second laser sword. And, yeah, there he is. He's Luke Skywalker now. Again, the pommel of the sword doesn't allow any other figures with closed hands to hold it. Only the likes of Earthrise Optimus and Studio Series Hot Rod can hold it. Which is a pretty damn shame, because it's a... I don't know. I just like to give this to other figures sometimes. Is that too much to ask? Come on, man. The way the elbows work, in combination with the long pipes on the arms, also makes the articulation a bit awkward for sword-wielding poses. So, yeah, again, 50-50. And I gotta be honest, it does fit better with Hot Rod anyways. Size comparison-wise, Studio Series Hot Rod, Studio Series Hot Rod. Cup? Hey yo man, can you hand me a Capri Sun? Ow! Megatron. And Titan's Return Galvatron, who works surprisingly well scale-wise. Enough that I don't feel the need to get the main Kingdom Galvatron. Oof. So, Kingdom Rodimus. It's a tough sell. It feels like it's more than a Voyager, maybe even a bit more than a Leader, but there's quality issues in the design that I feel shouldn't have been overlooked. I do think there is enough bang in your buck here for your money, but I'm not entirely satisfied with this. I'm still having good fun with it, mind you. I mean, it comes with a lot. Trailer. Gun. Effect. 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 Matrix effect. Pollution. The Earth is on fire, please stop. Do you like my sword, 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 my sword? Gun. And Matrix. You are getting a lot of plastic for your money. Definitely equal to the amount of plastic you got with Jetfire and Skylinks. It's just the designing I don't feel is too much up to par with those two. Especially with those fire effects. There's some baffling choices made with this. But, I don't know. I think most people will enjoy it. After all, people enjoyed Earthrise Optimus. So anyways, I've been Nexus 8846 Productions, and until next time, you got the touch.